A summary of everyone's experience playing Sukeban Deka III over the past 20 years would be loading it up in an emulator, playing for 3 minutes, going, wow, this is pretty bad, and then never looking at it again. One of the primary tasks of Famidaily is showing how you can't just judge these games from 2 minutes of poking at them and then walking away. You actually need to be able to understand them, get into the systems that aren't readily apparent. And if you do that with Sukeban Deka 3, you'll discover that it's much, much worse than that first impression. We've got a lot to unpack before we even get to the game with this one. A Sukeban is the head of a gang of girl delinquents. You might recall that in the 1980s, Japan decided that they were having a juvenile delinquency crisis. This was due to things like teenagers wanting to hang out instead of study, or deciding to wear flashier clothes. The moral panic was especially absurd in this case. And one of the consequences of it was that these groups formed the backbone of Japanese counterculture in the 1980s. And that led to them being the heroes in a lot of popular, but more, shall we say, low-brow entertainment. Naturally, it wasn't just teenage boys getting into this. There were plenty of girls, too. These girl gangs formed the protagonists of the Sukeban Deka series, which found the renegade teens acting as detectives. The game is Sukeban Deka 3 because it's based on the third Sukeban Deka series. That series was about the 3 Kazama sisters, Yuka, Yuma, and Yui. If you're familiar at all with Sukeban Deka in the US, it's probably through the animated version, which was based on a different Sukeban Deka. When you start this game, you're given your choice of which of the 3 sisters you want to play as. You're able to switch between them freely while you play, too. Yuka attacks by throwing metallic origami cranes, and she can gain the ability to float over some obstacles. Yuma throws her knitting needles to attack, and her unique ability is that she can light up dark areas for a brief time. Yui is the leader of the trio, and she has the series' signature weapon, the Killer Yo-Yo. Her unique ability is that she has a phone card. Seriously. The game is an action RPG, so you'll gain levels by defeating enemies. And as you gain levels, you'll also unlock special ninja abilities. Like you can stun enemies for a short period. You set out on your quest to rid the world of an evil organization in an overhead city map where you can freely roam around. And here's where the troubles start. Enemies continuously spawn in at the edge of the screen. They really never stop, and as soon as you kill one or one wanders off somehow, another one spawns in. The B button throws out your attack, and the A button jumps. Yes, it is an overhead view. No, that jump makes absolutely no sense. You're only hurt by enemies if their attacks hit you, so you can touch them all you like. As long as they're not throwing a star or swinging a mace around, you'll be fine. Throughout the city there are phone booths that you can talk to get hints. Well, Yui can talk to them. She's the one with the phone card. They're really not necessary, though. As you start to fight, you're going to discover the next major problem. There's no health recovery drops, and advancing to the next stage doesn't even heal you. There are exactly 3 ways to recover health in Sukeban Deka 3. And they're all bad. First, you can level up, in which case you gain exactly as many hit points as your maximum increase. Second, when you reach level 13, you gain a ninja ability where you can heal yourself. It heals you back to 50 hit points. At level 13, your maximum is about 80 hit points. Oh, and that healing ability is very expensive to use, and there's no way to recover ninja magic points. The third and final option is this item. It heals back 10 hit points if you die. Only one sister can carry the scroll, so if one of the other 2 die, you're out of luck. Of course, if one of the sisters dies, you're already out of luck. The game is uncompletable unless all 3 of them are alive. The good news is, you can get a password at any time to help you mitigate this. Anytime you hit start and choose one of the sisters, you see a password before you go to the status screen. Yes, that whole thing is the password. All 73 characters of it. That status screen, by the way, is where you choose to use your ninja abilities, but it doesn't actually use them. You have to select the ability, then press A, make sure that the cost was deducted, then hit start to return to the gameplay, then hold down B, and finally hit A to activate the ability. On the first stage, you have to use Yuka's levitation ability to go over this water. There's no sign that there's anything on the other side, and none of the hints tell you to do it. You just have to do it on your own. But touching any water on this stage is fatal, including the small fountains you see dotted around the area. If you cross the river and then go to the southwest corner of the map, you'll advance to stage 2. And now it's a side-scrolling game. This makes a little bit more sense, but it still plays terribly. One thing that's consistent across all the levels: whenever it switches the type of enemies you're facing, the game freezes for about 5 seconds. On the second stage, you'll start encountering bosses. You just have to stop and hit these guys for a little while before you're allowed to continue. Making it to the end of the forest takes you to some caverns where you're again in an overhead stage. There's no sprawling map with absolutely nothing in it like on the first level. Just keep walking to the right until you reach the end. That'll drop you into some side-scrolling caverns that are dark. Yuma can light these up, and her ability lasts for about 10 seconds. And remember, there's no way to recover the magic that you use when you cast that. You might as well just go around playing this stage in the dark. That's as far as I got, and frankly, it's amazing I made it that far. There's so many other things wrong with this game, like the item that you pick up that has absolutely no use, or the randomly falling objects that will be just draining away your life. Sukeban Deka 3 is remembered in Japan as being one of the absolute worst games for the system, and I really can't argue that. In a bit of serendipity, Sukeban Deka 3 was so bad, it killed the Sukeban Deka franchise. It wasn't the game. Well, not just the game. The television show was also a massive bomb. That said, if you like tough girls throwing yo-yos as weapons, there was a Sukeban Deka 2 game that was released, but it's only for the Sega Mark III.